welcome to the Coaching Circle. Today, I'm diving into something that I know so many business owners struggle with and really struggling with giving themselves permission to do, and that is taking time off that they actually enjoy. And I am talking about this having just come back from having 3 weeks in Europe. I had an amazing holiday and I've also, earlier this year, I was in Bali, and later in this year, I'm going to go to India. But this hasn't always been the way that I've been able to give myself time off. So I'm going to be talking about this. And although systems and planning do matter when it comes to giving yourself time off, the real starting point isn't strategy, it's actually your mindset. And I can tell you that there were definitely years in my business that I just worked flat out. I didn't give myself time off. And if anything, I had a little bit of time off over Christmas. And by that time, I was so tired that I didn't really do anything. And I realized a while back that that's not what I started my business for. And I really wanted to change that up. And so this year, especially last year, I went to Thailand and I did a couple of other things. But like I said, this year I've been to Bali. I've just been to Europe for 3 weeks. I'm heading off to India later in the year. And during that time, my business doesn't skip a beat, right? Podcasts still went out, emails still were sent. I was still generating leads so that when I got back, I had sales calls lined up. And I knew that what was going to be happening when I came back from my holiday. And I had an amazing time on my holiday, not worrying about my business, not worrying about money because I already had money there to cover everything. Everything was sorted out. And this type of freedom that I'm talking about today with giving your time off, giving yourself time off, does not come from cramming more into your schedule. It comes from choosing to create both. When I say both, I mean a business that grows and a lifestyle that gives you joy. Now, I'm going to be talking about this giving yourself joy because this is a really important part of being able to take holidays and enjoying your time off. And so, if we really look at this mindset piece of it first, there's a couple of things that people struggle with in this mindset part of it. And the first one, I think, is the more obvious one where people feel like, oh, can my business actually sustain? Can it actually continue if I'm not there? Now, if you are a service based business and you're trading time for money, you might want to argue with me that, oh, if I'm not there, then, I'm not making any money. And that might be true, but it still does not mean that you can't go on holidays and still be paid. And I'm going to be talking more about that. And the second part of this is that often people don't feel like that they are fully deserving or that they have actually earned a truly enjoyable holiday or having time off where they actually enjoy it. And I find this especially with real heart-centered people who are in service is that you're often in a place where you feel like you have to be giving or you have to be doing something or you have to be in service of others, and that there can even be some guilt that creeps in if you take time off. It could be, guilt around, oh, my clients need me and I'm not there. Or it might be, like I said, this fear around how will I make money if I'm not working? Will my clients go somewhere else while I'm away? They're all going to suddenly pack up shop and go, how dare you take holidays and take off? Or, people think that you're not really serious about your business or you're not really there in service of them and all this kind of stuff that can go on in the background. And that noise, that background chatter can really keep people chained to their laptop or their office. And even though you probably did start your business to create freedom. And so this is the thing. And I remember very clearly when I first got into business back in 2015, this was before I started coaching, I got into the laptop lifestyle. It was affiliate marketing, and I fully bought into the I'm going to do a business from my laptop, make all this money, and travel the world and have a fabulous time. But it did take me quite a few years to get my head around that. And it wasn't in affiliate marketing that I end up making this happening. But this is the key thing. What you must know is that if you don't allow yourself joy and pleasure through holidays and time off, then the only downtime you end up giving yourself is through suffering. And so that suffering might be that you get sick, and you get sick regularly, and you have to take time off because you're not well. And you're sick, it could be burnout, it could be exhaustion, or when you take time off, you fill it with jobs that you need to do around your house. Right? That can be the other thing that happens. And what I really want you to know is that when your downtime only happens through sickness, like if sickness is the only reason you allow yourself to rest, then you'll get sick more often and recovery takes longer. Because if you're getting sick more often, it's not just because you're run down and your immune system allows you to catch more things. It can be that, but it's also psychological, in that's the only way that you get to rest. And so, if that's the only way you get to rest, you aren't as invested in getting well quicker. So, that means you'll generally get sicker and you'll stay sick longer, because being sick is providing you with something. It's providing you with this ability to not be in service of other people for a change. It's providing you with the ability to rest and have other people maybe take care of you, but at the very least, you not having to look after other people. And so there's a big difference in this. When you give yourself permission to have time off and to enjoy time off, then you tend to get sick less often and for very much shorter periods of time, because there's something that you are looking forward to, right? If you're not giving yourself time off, there's often it's that you're just not haven't got anything to look forward to. And so you continue to get into this regular type of sick. But like I said, when you plan to have joy, when you allow yourself to have joy, and I really believe that this is something that you should plan in your business right from the start, not when not when you've hit a certain income level or whatever else, when you think you've deserved it or you've earned it, but like part of your business plan should be that you take time off. And this is something that I do with people when I look through and we go through the numbers, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but very much planning for having time off, because everything comes down to planning and allowing yourself to have that joy. So it might be at the start of your business, you might not be taking a 3-week trip to Europe like I've just had. Like I said, Bali, Europe, India, that isn't something that I've done every year for like the last 10 years, but it's something that I've worked up to. But it might even just be that you plan for yourself a weekend away. That could be a camping weekend away. It could be, it doesn't have to be high budget. It could be low budget. It could be something bougie, but just for a couple of nights. But really making sure that you're giving yourself time off and you're doing things that you actually enjoy. When you do that, you feel yourself differently. You think about your business differently. You are motivated differently, right? Because a lot of it as well comes from your actually valuing yourself. And you're valuing yourself regardless of the results that you have in your business. You're valuing yourself because you are valuable. And when you value yourself, it changes how you show up in your business, because you have to value yourself to have a successful business. You have to. You have to believe that you are valuable. Otherwise, you're forever getting by on just enough, right? And not having anything of abundance, or not having any too much joy or fun or pleasure, because you're just always in this, I'm just surviving, because that's all you think that you're deserving of. And I want to change that. I want to change that, because there's no one else who's ever going to decide that you're deserving and that you're valuable than you. It's something that you get to decide. And the thing that I'm going to be running a masterclass very soon. It's coming up. It's called the Quantum Code. And I'm going to go deeper into these quantum principles that I use and how I use them to get quick results in my life and my business. And it's so super important that we understand that when it comes to reality, you're creating the reality. Right? You're creating the reality. There is no external circumstance that gets to decide what's right or wrong, that gets to decide whether you're deserving or not. And when you really get to realize this, everything changes. You move forward with energy and motivation because you know you've created space for yourself. Like you get to decide how it is. And even if, you still get like, I always say to my clients, like, I don't get sick. But the truth is, there's times, occasional times that I do. And in fact, when I got back from Europe last week, I did get sick. I got really quite sick, but I think it was food poisoning. And I was very unwell and feeling dreadful for definitely, I was in bed for about 24 hours. But it took me a few days to sort of start coming back. But the thing was, because I allow myself rest and I allow myself joy, I did not have to like wipe myself out and just go, oh, couldn't possibly do anything in my business until I'm 100% better. No, I just eased back into it, knowing I can go and do, like, I think I had a couple of clients a couple of days afterwards, and they were 3 or 4 hours apart. And I'm like, yeah, I can show up online and see a client and then go and have a rest. And then I can do that because I know I'm going to rest. I know I'm looking after myself. So I don't have to go, oh, I'm sick and this is wiping me out for days. And so that's why I can't do anything now. I don't need to do that because I'm valuing myself. I give myself rest. It's okay. So when you're in this space, like I said, even if you do become slightly unwell, you're more invested in getting well than you are in being sick, right? Because you're looking for an out or an excuse. And this might be subconsciously if you're not giving yourself, um, you know, the time off that you need. And if your business isn't where you want it to be, then you can get into this mindset of not wanting to get well or not being as motivated to get well as quickly as you might if you had something to look forward to. And I want you to think about this, right? I want you to think about this because I know even way back before I had a business. I remember I worked I worked at the National Wine Centre, and there was a lot of social activities that used to happen. And one was an annual Sea and Vines bus tour, and it was a massive day. We'd go to lots of bus tours, drink lots of wine, and it was a cracker of a day. It was a brilliant day. And I remember this one tour couple of days before, I started to lose my voice. Right, I was losing my voice and I wasn't feeling well, and I was like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "There's no way I'm missing this." So, do you think I did everything within my power to make sure I was well enough to go on that bus trip? You bet I did. I was gargling, betadine, throat disinfectant, taking whatever vitamin supplement, everything. I was fully invested in getting myself well so that I could go on that bus tour. And sure enough, I made myself well. And this is really what I want you to really understand for yourself is that really looking after yourself and giving yourself things to look forward to and valuing yourself and allowing yourself joy and pleasure will make all the difference in your business, because continuous logging does not make you more productive, right? It does not make you more productive. It slows you down and it wears you out and it makes you more resentful of your business. And if you're resentful, you need to look at what boundaries you aren't holding for yourself, because resentment always comes from being aware that there is a problem, but you're not expressing your needs and you're not doing anything to solve it. So I want you to think about this, right? I want you to think about anyone you hold any resentment towards, and I can guarantee you it holds this same pattern. they're doing something that crosses your boundaries and you're not expressing that that's not okay with you or doing something about it. And then you're holding resentment because they're not behaving the way that you would like them. It's always the same pattern. And the same thing will happen in your business. So, really, the key here is you've got to decide that you're going to create a life and business that you actually enjoy, one that you're actually going to enjoy. And there can be so many sneaky, unconscious patterns that prevent that from happening. As in, oh, you've got to work hard for money, or business is hard, or it's so much responsibility, or I've got to be serious about my business. All of those things can be true, but also, what is true is you can build a business that supports you. That business can be fun. That business can be easy. Right now, when I say easy, I can tell you that if you've never run a business before and you step into business or you're stepping up to another level of business, that it's not going to feel easy, right? It's not going to feel easy. But the reason it doesn't feel easy is because you have not yet developed the neurological pathways that are required for that environment, right? This is something that I want you to know. You always, like, as we create a bigger business or make more money or create more joy for ourselves or create more of a lifestyle that we want for ourselves, it's not necessarily easy if you've not done it before. You have to develop the neurological pathways that make that your reality. Once you do, then it becomes easy. But of course, as humans, once you do find something easy, then you look for a challenge, right? The next goal, the next thing that you haven't done before, and you've got to develop those neurological pathways for it. So for me to be able to create a business where I'm client facing 3 days a week, where I take 6 weeks off a year, where my business pays me a consistent wage, regardless of whether I'm here or in Europe. It took me to build the neurological pathways of how to make that happen, of how to make that my reality. But of course, once I did, it feels easy. And then I think, okay, there's another level, there's another level. And that getting to that next level might feel hard, but what is standard feels easy. So that's the mindset of that, right? When we think about taking holidays, number one, you've got to decide you're allowed to have pleasure and joy and that you want to create. Because I was talking to one of my clients about this the other day, and there is never going to be, we always think, oh, yes, well, I'll have this amazing business and making all this money and all these amazing clients, and I'll be living the lifestyle. My house will be how I want it, and I'll be driving the car that I want, and I'll have all the clothes that I want, and da 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 da. None of that is just going to magically happen without you deciding that that's how your life is going to be. It's a choice that you have to make. There's no external circumstances that are going to happen. Even when it comes to how much money you make, you have to decide that there is, like, whatever money you're making now is how much money you have decided you can survive on. It's your thermostat, right? It's the same with pleasure, it's the same with experiences, it's the same everything. You're in a thermostat of what you decide is the standard of what you're okay with. If you want something more, you have to decide you're shifting your thermostat to make another level of money, abundance, freedom, joy, pleasure your reality. And once you decide that you can have that, then you'll make the environment match it. Then you'll make the, effort to get the more clients or make the more money or set, more boundaries. It all comes from what you decide. You have to make it happen. And this again comes back to the quantum principles, where we have to understand how quantum physics works, because we are the creators. There's all kinds of quantum principles, even the observer effect. However, you observe things to be will affect how they be. You're the creator. So, anyway, that's the mindset side of it. And I could talk on and on and on because, mindset is my jam. But of course, there is a practical layer to this that I want to get into as well. And this is how I work. I'm a Pisces. I'm a Pisces sun and a Pisces moon, so I can go right into all of the how things work and the imagination and the emotions and the human behavior, all of that stuff. And I've also got Capricorn rising, so I'm always very grounded in the practicalities of how you make these things. And this is what we need to do, is bringing these two parts together. So if we look at the practical layers of being able to take time off so that you're in a good place and you continue to grow your business, we've got to have some structure, right? We've got to have some practical structure as well. And so the first thing is annual planning. And I spoke a little bit about this before, is that in your business, you cannot just work week to week if you want to be able to go and take a 3 week holiday, for example. And there's people that take longer than 3 weeks off in their business. I know people can take a month off, 2 months off, 3 months off, whatever that is. It still comes down to planning and look at annual planning, because of course we look at annual planning because in business we have taxes and all kinds of things that work on that annual cycle. So you have to know your expenses and revenue goals so that you're not living week to week, right? You have to know what it is for a year. And so to be able to take holidays, you need to know your numbers, because your numbers, knowing numbers are just measurements of reality. Numbers are just the measurements of what it actually takes for you to run your business. And every type of outcome that you want in your business can be measured with numbers. And so this is why you have to know your numbers and you have to be able to measure. So the first thing, especially if you're a solopreneur, even if you've got a team, it still applies. You need to know, first of all, what does it take for you to live and live the life that you want to live? And I'm talking financially. So, what are your household expenses, mortgage, food, bills, all of those things. Plus, things like what does it cost you for Christmas and holidays and anything else, things that you want to invest in, experiences that you want to have, gifts, sports, subscriptions, all of those kinds of things. You need to know how much it costs you to live, and not just to survive, but how much it costs you to live a life that you enjoy. Right? How much it costs for you to live a life that you enjoy. And because you can't have a lifestyle business or a business that creates freedom for you if you don't know what freedom looks like for you. Right? What is freedom? How do you want to live your life? What is a good lifestyle for you? So you need to work that out. And then that amount of money that it costs for you to live a life that you enjoy, like I said, including all those things, holidays and everything else, then that plus the expenses that it costs your business to exist and provide the services that you provide. So there could be insurances, could be room hire, there could be printing, there could be stationery, plus you've got your GST and your tax and all those kinds of things. You need to know what that is for a year, so that then you've got an idea of how much revenue you need to be bringing in that's going to cover all your expenses and pay you at the level that allows you to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, for me, this I realized a while ago that for me, because my background is banking and accounting. So I spent 20 years working in banking and accounting, and I was even a money coach. So for me, finances have always just been easy to work out. Like it's just made sense to me. I've always been the financial controller in my household. And I just understand money. But I didn't realize that this was not something that was just came natural to a lot of people. And I honestly found that a little bit surprising. Um, only because no judgment, only because I was in the world of finance, and it seemed like so the other people I was around was in finance. It just seemed like second nature. But if you don't feel like numbers is your strong point or it's easy for you, that's something that you really want to change for yourself. And by all means, like I still have an accountant. I do a bit of my bookkeeping because it's really easy for me to do and it's pretty simple. But I still have an accountant that, I run by things and who does my BAS and all those kinds of stuff. And I've got a financial advisor who advises on investments and things. And, I've got brokers and all different experts in that. But I really believe that as an adult, number one, as an adult, and definitely as a business owner, you need to decide you're going to be someone who's good at numbers. Like I said, you can still have people helping you, but you need to be good at numbers because business, when we think about business, the ultimate purpose for business, the highest purpose for business is to make money. Now, if you think that it's to help people, well, yes, of course, you want to help people in your business, but you could help people without having a business structure. When we think about the structure of business, the highest purpose of business is to make money, and it's a structure that makes money while you help people, right? You want to help people, and you choose the structure of business to help people. In business, you're there to make money. Otherwise, you can have a not for profit, or you can have a charity, or you can have a hobby, or you can have whatever you like. But if you're in business, you're there to make money. So you have to know your numbers, right? Money is numbers. You need to be able to measure those things for you to be able to succeed in business and for you to be able to create the type of lifestyle that you want. It all goes hand in hand. Okay, so you really need to look at, like I said, how much, all of your numbers, how much money do you need to get from your business to create your lifestyle? How much does your business need cost to run for it to exist and to be able to provide those services? And then you look at your revenue. And so, of course, your revenue goal needs to match the amount of time you want to work each year and the offers you can sell and deliver in the time you will be working. So, for example, I work on when I'm planning my business and doing my numbers, I work on the fact that I'm client facing 3 days a week and that I will be available 46 weeks of the year. And so I know what my offers are and how many I need to sell each month. And so that I continuously pay myself a wage whether I'm at work or not. And the key thing as well is that you have to know that the amount of time you're going to be available matches the time that it takes you to deliver those offers of so that you can make that money. So all of these numbers have to add up. And I go into a lot of detail with this with my clients and in Business Alchemy. I always go through these numbers and make sure their offers and time match their revenue and freedom goals. It's really important. And this does apply whether you are strictly a service based business or really any type of business. So if you're saying, well, I'm trading time for money, like my clients, I'm hands on and all my clients are face to face. Well, that's okay. But whatever you're charging those clients, it still has to add up that the time you're available and the time that your service continues to pay you like your business expenses, what you want to get out of your business every year so that you've got a wage, regular wage each week, whether you're there or not, is covered by what you're charging for the services when you are there. And sometimes that's a mindset that people can't quite get, but it's exactly how it works. And if you're seeing someone, and say you're seeing people and you're a massage therapist and you're charging, I don't know, $150 an hour, say that might be, and you think, well, I'm only making money if I'm there doing massage. Yes, but the money that you're making should add up to be able to give you an income whether you're at work or not. That's why we look at it annually, not week by week. So essentially, you're making more money in the weeks that you're hands on that is going to cover you for when the times that you're not hands on. Hope that makes sense. So we really want to really look at your numbers and make sure that you're running this business that supports you and your lifestyle, whether you are client facing or not, that it all adds up. So, the next thing we really want to look at, of course, is your systems and structure and scheduling. Now, before I went to Europe, I had my podcast episodes and emails all lined up. And on my socials, I I could have maybe scheduled some stuff for content on my socials, but I really decided that all I was going to post was holiday content, and I was only going to post that on one platform, and that was the platform that I have the most engagement, and that was Facebook. And so I were posting regularly on Facebook. People could see where I was at, what I was doing. And I also put an email responder on. So if people were emailing me, that they would get sent a response letting them know that I was away and when I'd be back. And in there, a link that they could book a call with me to ensure I could help them as soon as I got back. Now, nothing fell behind. Everything worked out for this. And, I think another key thing about this as well is that I didn't put things off until after I'm going to be on holidays. So, for example, I was about to launch season 2 of my podcast. I hadn't, like, I completed 100 episodes in the first season. I had a bit of a break thinking about doing some rebranding and how that was going to look. And then I knew I wanted to relaunch, and I had a lot of the stuff ready. But instead of going, oh, well, maybe I don't have enough time, I'll wait till I get back, went, no, I'm going to get the first few episodes recorded and have them scheduled so that they go. Because I knew if I just waited for everything until I got back, it would just put me behind of what I planned for the rest of the year. So I commit to that. I commit to that structure of how I want my business to be so that I'm not thinking about all of these things I've got to do when I get back. It's all in flow. It's still in flow. There's no stop start. There's in flow. And I also knew that when I got back, I would be moving into promoting a masterclass. So I already had that because the last thing that you want to do is go, oh, just scramble around for holidays, go on holidays, switch off, don't think about anything, and get back and go, oh my god, where am I up to now? What am I doing? What's happening? No, that's horrible. It's not a nice way. So you want to think about it, not just what's going to happen before you go on holidays, not just what's happening while you're on holidays, but what's going to happen when you get back. And if you're planning out your year and thinking about things, then that shouldn't be too much of a stretch. It should already be part of your plans. And this is stuff that I work with my clients around because I'm not someone who I love structure, but I'm not rigid. I do not like things being like super rigid because I got out of a job because I don't want to be that. But I have a structure that I know supports the business that I want to have and the lifestyle I want to have, and I stick to that structure. And so having that clarity for when you return is really important. It helps you relax while you're on holidays. And in fact, what else it does is when you've got an idea of what's happening when you've got back, while you're on holidays, your mind can be, first of all, it switches off easier. And when I say switch off, it's not like you've got to shut everything down, but you can be present in where you're at because it's not like there's stress that you have to switch off from, right? It's easy just to be present where you're at. And when you're present where you're at, your mind can come up with different ideas in the background. It makes it much more seamless and much more easy to go through. So, when people say, oh, I've just got to switch off from my business, like the only time I really switch off, like I'm always present with where I'm at. Like well, the only time I really refer to myself as switching off from my business is at nighttime. At nighttime is a rule. I switch off from my business. Like anywhere, I'm never thinking about business. I don't work generally in the evenings because that doesn't work for me. So usually I don't see any clients past 6 p.m. There's not usually any business. Occasionally I run a masterclass, maybe once a quarter at 7 p.m. But otherwise, I don't think about business from about 7 or 8 p.m. at night until the next morning. That's when I switch off from business because, like, it's my evening and I'm going to sleep and I'm going to do those things. But otherwise, I'm present with what it is that I'm doing. So when I'm on holidays, I'm present with my holidays. If I get an idea that pops into my mind about something for my business, I absolutely make a note of it in my phone because I think that stuff's gold. It's really worthwhile. But I'm present in my holidays and I can be present in my holidays and having a good time because I know everything's looked after. I don't have to be like, oh, I've got to switch off and not think about that and not do that because there's nothing I have to think about anyway because it's all handled, right? This is what I really want you to think about in this sort of way. And coming back, like I said, with this feeling of like, yes, I know what I'm doing when I get back. I know what's been happening. I know I'm hitting the ground running. It's just like a seamless transition. There's no, oh, cut it off. Now I've got to try to pick it all up. No, it's seamless. And this is the type of planning that you can do in your business where business and your lifestyle integrate, right? That's when they're integrated and it feels more like a smooth transition. There's no, oh my God, my business is taking over my life because if your business is taking over your life, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with how it's structured. You need to be able to change that. And really thinking about that business should be something that adds to your life, that gives you joy, that gives you pleasure, that you're not trying to escape from anyway. And I want to just mention this. If the idea of pleasure and enjoyment feels like something that you have to earn, start small. Right? Start small. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a 3 week holiday. It might be a long weekend. It might be a night or two away. It might be just dedicating a day for yourself. It might be just finding things in your day that bring you pleasure. And I'll give you an example. My work day or my client facing day doesn't start till 10 a.m. as a general, apart from about one call a month. So 10 a.m. And so every day I know I've got till 10 a.m. to take my time. I go for a walk every day. I might see my PT. I potter around. I do whatever because that means I can focus on what I need for me first before I have to get be working and to be focusing on other people. That brings me a lot of joy. And it brings me a lot of joy because right out through my working life, I had to drive in peak hour traffic. I had to be at the office by like 8 or 9. Sometimes it was a lot earlier. So I'd be getting up, rushing around, getting ready to get in traffic, to go to do something that I didn't really love. And that was not in my best interests. Right? That did not bring me joy, did not bring me pleasure. So, uh, a thing that I do that brings me pleasure is that I don't start my day client facing until 10 a.m. Right? That's something that I do for myself. I'm client facing 3 days a week. That really works well for me. And so it's really looking at how can you bring in those things even on a daily basis in your everyday lifestyle where you give yourself permission to actually enjoy your day to day. Right? That's so important. And that's when you can build on it and build on it and build on it. So, making regular time off part of your plan from the start of your business is a great idea. If that ship sailed and you're a fair way into your business, just start today. Just start really looking at where you can bring in this time off in a way that you enjoy it, not just time off to go to appointments or not just time off to do jobs around the house, but time off where you feel like you've got ease and flow and you're just doing it because you enjoy it. Now, this is something I work a lot with my clients as well. And so many of my clients are at a point in their life where they're ready to create more for themselves, more freedom, more choice, more lifestyle. And some of these people have teenagers, some have adult kids, some are simply over living, week to week. And when they shift their mindset and allow themselves permission to create the business and life they want, the structure becomes easy. Suddenly, they're not just running a business, they're living the life they envisioned when they started. And an amazing example of this is one of my beautiful clients created this for herself this year. Now, she'd been in business for quite a few years. And at the start of this year, she was feeling completely burnt out. Right? She's feeling completely burnt out. The business wasn't where she wanted it to be. She was really stressed out, and she was just like, "Oh my god, I'm so done." So I said, "Right, let's get let's sit down and go through this." And I said, "How do you want to live? What do you want for yourself?" And so she started talking about what she actually wanted. And one of the key things in that, she was like, "I want to be semi-retired." And I'm like, "Great. Let's look at how we create that for you." And so from that, we went through and we created an absolute plan, which went deep into her numbers. We also did some mindset stuff around her giving herself permission to be able to do that, and that she didn't have to be the one that was there in the slog anymore, because also we look at value. This is a really important thing, that I look at people's value so that they can understand how valuable that they are and why it doesn't make sense for them to be doing a lot of busy work, right? You can hire VAs, you can have staff, you can do all kinds of different things where people love and are at that stage to be doing the busy work, and you understand your value of why you don't need to be busy, right? It's important that you have got the time, because the more valuable, the more experience, the longer you've been around, the more you move into a place where your value is in your thought processes. It's in your experience, your knowledge, your understanding, your vision for the business, how you run that business. It's not in the busy doing, spending, 40 hours a week doing. You're beyond that. So we look at that. So we got deep in the numbers, really clear on her value, really clear on how she wanted her life to be, created a plan. And from that point, within 6 months, she managed to take a 7-week holiday, and her financial situation in her business completely turned around. Completely turned around. It completely changed. And this is why, and now she's like, "Oh my God, I've done it. I'm like semi-retired. My business is being more successful than ever it has before. I'm doing the work that I love. I'm making a bigger impact." This is what I want for people. And it's all possible. You can have more freedom. You can have more joy. You can have more pleasure. You can feel like you're contributing more to the world and be doing less and making more. It's all possible. So, the takeaways that I want you to have from this, and I would love to hear what other takeaways or whatever it has landed for you, but I really want you to know that freedom in business doesn't begin with a planner or a content calendar. It begins with the mindset. It begins with giving yourself permission. It begins with trusting yourself. And it begins with a decision to quiet that chatter, to tell yourself a different story, to change the narrative that's going on in your mind. Once you get that right and you decide how you want things to be, that's when the planning systems come after that. And they're so much easier to put in place once you've already got your mindset on board. Once you've already decided that this is how things are going to be, that this is how you're creating it. And remember this as well, that if you don't choose downtime in joy, you'll be forced into downtime in suffering. Its choice is yours. It'll happen one way or the other. Your body will find a way to make you stop. And choosing joy filled rest and having things that you enjoy, that you love, that bring you pleasure, that really move you into a space of feeling, light and creative, is what keeps you motivated. It's what keeps you healthy, and it keeps you moving forward. So, if you've been running your business in a way that leaves no room for you, then take this as your reminder that you can have both. You can take time off, you can travel, you can rest, and you can still grow your business. And if you'd love some support in setting this up in your own business, then of course reach out to me and keep an eye out for my next masterclass where I'm going to be sharing the quantum principles that I use to get business results fast. And the best way for you to be the first to know about that when you can sign up to that is in the show notes. You will find a link to join my newsletter. Make sure that you're getting my weekly emails because in my weekly emails, you will always be first to get access to the fresh episode of the podcast, plus fresh off the press, any new offers, masterclasses, or anything else that I'm giving. There's always loads of value in those emails. And I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to align your mindset and structure so your business gives you the freedom you've been working for. Thanks for being with me, and I look forward to the next episode.